What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, we've got another live fantasy football mock draft for you back on Yahoo with a 12-team half PPR mock where we have got the 6th overall pick right in the middle of it all. Should be pretty interesting. If you enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, let us hear it in the comments section. Along with any questions you guys might have, we will do our best to answer them all. And lastly, check us out online at alldaypigskin.com. And while you're there, get yourself a copy of the 2021 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide. Everything you can want at a great value. Details in the description. But with that being said, let's get into this draft where the first pick will be made shortly. And I anticipate that it will be Christian McCaffrey. Now, the question that we have to ask ourselves is, come pick 9, who should we be considering? And there's a couple guys that I think are going to be tempting. Now, this is half-point PPR scoring, so, maybe a guy like a Jonathan Taylor, maybe a guy like an Ezekiel Elliott if he falls to us. All really good options, honestly. I know that I probably won't be selecting a pass catcher in the first round because I don't want to, risk having somebody, just go on a running back run and then us be stuck with not so great options, just bluntly said. But right now, the first 4 picks are in. They are Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams, and Dalvin Cook. So pretty typical other than one selection, obviously, that being Devontae Adams, because Adams has, look, I get it, a tier 1 resume as far as wide receivers are concerned, the number 1 wide receiver last season, despite missing multiple games. But no way in hell should a wide receiver be going top 3 in this situation. And as a result, we have Alvin Kamara drop to us. I'm not going to even question it. I did not expect a situation like this. So honestly, right now, I'm as happy as could be. Alvin Kamara going 6th overall. Like in any type of PPR formats, I would be considering him as a top 3 running back, like worst case scenario, top 4, top 5. So getting him here 6th overall, very, very happy about that. I can't advise enough not to draft Devontae Adams, really any pass catcher, with a top 3 pick in any format, because what are you going to do at running back in the end of the second round? That's just reaching on a wide receiver. There's a reason when you guys look at rankings for analysts on websites, even our own rankings, like the first 10, 11, 12 overall players usually are all running backs. It's the most important position. Don't go reaching on a wide receiver with one of your first 3 picks. If you want to do it towards the end of the first round, where then you can guarantee yourself to get somebody like an Antonio Gibson, maybe an Austin Eckler, Najee Harris, okay, I can kind of understand that, but picking them 3rd overall, just no thank you. All types of pass on that. But let's look at the draft otherwise. So the first 5 picks, we went over them: McCaffrey, Henry, Devontae Adams, yikes, Dalvin Cook, Zeke, which allowed us to get Alvin Kamara. Then 7th overall, Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, sure, makes sense. Then a run on some pass catchers here. So this is typically, if depending on the size of your leagues, it's a 12-team league, right around when that run on pass catchers begins. The 9th, 10th pick, and you see it here, Tyreek, Travis Kelce, Jonathan Taylor, and then Stephon Diggs. So now I anticipate, the remaining top running backs to go. So in this case, guys like Saquon Barkley, guys like a Austin Eckler, a Joe Mixon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire maybe, Najee Harris. So those are the names to keep an eye out for. The first 3 picks are in the second round, so we don't have to speculate. They are as follows: Saquon Barkley, Austin Eckler, Calvin Ridley, and then Najee Harris. Austin Eckler at the beginning of the second round, to me, that's great value. I love that pick. So kudos to that individual. Austin Eckler in PPR is somebody that I would be drafting, again, as a top 5, top 6 running back. So in my opinion, very good value. Calvin Ridley then goes there, followed by a run on those running backs, like I promised you, Najee Harris, Antonio Gibson. So that begs the question, what is that going to leave for the individual that selected Devontae Adams 3rd overall? Well, I'm potentially going to go running back here as well. The guys that we have to consider are Joe Mixon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. If we go with a wide receiver, Metcalf, A.J. Brown, guys like that, honestly, I'd rather roll the dice with a Mixon or a Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Who do I trust more? I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the safer player, and then I think Joe Mixon has the higher upside. It's still a little bit early, so I'm going to go with the safety. I'm going to go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire here. So add him to our squad that already includes Alvin Kamara. Then Joe Mixon follows. So yeah, exactly like I promised you guys, there has been a run on the most important position, running backs. So right now, this individual that selected Davante Adams third overall, who's going to be your top running back? It's probably going to have to be like Chris Carson and Montgomery, because if you continue to hold and you don't take back-to-back running backs here, man, that position is going to be all types of just disaster later on in the fourth round. So really happy that we got our two running backs with Kamara and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I would have really, liked if Antonio Gibson was there for us instead of CEH. If it was both of them, I would have been giving the edge to Antonio Gibson. I think he's got the higher upside, but it's all right. I'm all right having Clyde Edwards-Helaire as my RB2. I think he's going to be in for a great bounce back season on a team where, again, extremely high scoring, one that is going to be in very high scoring games themselves, and just overall less competition for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which is always a good thing. Now, these last couple of picks have been very pass catcher heavy. Metcalf, Justin Jefferson, Waller, Robinson, Terry McLaurin, and then Patrick Mahomes. So the first two picks in the third round, McLaurin, Patrick Mahomes. And boy, oh boy, we are seeing this person that took Davante Adams first overall throw all caution to the wind. Three wide receivers, Davante, Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, good on you, but your running backs will be atrocious. So, yeah, be ready for that, I guess. Now it's back on us, and here, honestly, I'm looking at the running backs that are left, and I'm really tempted to go Chris Carson and just go a deep running back trio. I think that there's going to be individuals that kind of fall in this category, and let's see what happens here. Let's see how we build out the rest of our roster. If we go three running backs, by the way, three running backs that I think all very realistically could be top 12 or top 15. So immediately getting depth at the most important position. And then we'll figure out wide receiver in the fourth and fifth round. If I had gone wide receiver here, I did think to some extent the value kind of had dropped off. I could have gone a Cooper Kupp. I could have gone an Amari Cooper, just naming out some of those possibilities. But to me, this third round, people had ignored the running back position a little bit at the beginning of the round and then at the end of the second round. So all those top-end wide receivers were kind of off the board. So that allowed me to get Chris Carson, which I'm very happy about. Mike Evans. So David Montgomery and Mike Evans are the next two picks after our Chris Carson selection. Mike Evans, again, I'd rather have a Chris Godwin in really any type of PPR formats as far as the Tampa Bay trio of wide receivers is concerned. I like James Robinson there in the third round. He's a really interesting guy. I think super high ceiling. Question is, how is Urban Meyer going to utilize Carlos Hyde and James Robinson? Logic says it should be James Robinson all day, every day, but you never know with Urban Meyer and the way he runs things and, with his connection with Carlos Hyde. So that's a bit of a worry point there. But, I mean, when you get to the third round, you can argue that, all these players, all these running backs that you're going to be drafting there, they all have their fair share of question marks. Going through some of these other picks, Robert Woods, Chris Godwin, Josh Allen, the last three picks in the third round. George Kittle, the first pick in the fourth round. I would say that's pretty good value there. Somebody that we could have considered, but going that extra running back in Chris Carson especially that I really, really like. I've said that before in the third round. I love the value for Chris Carson, one of the guys that is just my favorite selection, my favorite target at that point in time. Him and Keenan Allen are probably my two favorites in the third round to target. So still pretty happy that I got Chris Carson. Now, so far in the fourth round, as I mentioned before, George Kittle, Amari Cooper, and Miles Sanders. So if I am considering wide receiver, which I am, I'd be looking at individuals like a Cooper Kupp, individuals like a Tyler Lockett, Julio Jones. You get the picture. Guys that are, still high upside, relatively decent floors, which I would say is the case for Cooper Kupp on good offenses. If I had to guess right now, I don't think we're going to get Cooper Kupp. I think he's going to be selected. Kyle Pitts just went. Wow, I did not expect Kyle Pitts to go that early. There goes Tyler Lockett. Honestly, and I get my top choice. I say that because if we hadn't gotten Tyler Lockett, he's somebody that I like, but we would have had two guys on the Seattle offense, running back and at wide receiver. If I'm going to do that, prefer one of those guys be a quarterback so we can get the stack. So here I'm drafting Cooper Kupp relatively quickly. And then in the 5th round, we will see what we do after that point. Now, I want to bring up a couple guys that are kind of dropping in rankings. You see DeAndre Swift has dropped. He's still available here, going to be at the end of the 4th round, maybe going into the 5th round. Somebody else, Darrell Henderson with the Sony Michel trade, now potentially an end of the 4th round selection. You might see, in fact, Gus Edwards goes above him, Damian Harris above him. So there's a situation here where Darrell Henderson could be a good value pick in the 5th round, but I've gotten our running back position taken care of. Something just to point out for individuals that might be looking for a good value on running backs in the 4th or 5th round. So that's just my 2 cents there, even though I think probably, Henderson still might be a little bit undervalued. Other kind of things to highlight in this 4th round, Kyler Murray goes with the 4th pick, then Kyle Pitts, as I mentioned, a little bit early for my liking. Tyler Lockett, then we went Cooper Kupp. So let's see what's happened after that Cooper Kupp selection. Brandon Ayuk, followed by Gus Edwards, Josh Jacobs, Adam Thielen, and then Lamar Jackson. So the top 4 quarterbacks are off the board. So we're not going to be getting one of those tier 1 guys. That's all right. I'm not too upset about that. We can always find quarterback options in the later rounds. It is by far the deepest position. So not worried at all. Mark Andrews goes with the 1st pick in the 5th round. And I anticipate here maybe we see TJ Hawkinson being drafted. Would be kind of unfortunate as that's the direction I would like to go in. But we'll see. Actually, it's DeAndre Swift. So the TJ Hawkinson dream is still alive. There goes Damian Harris. Let's see what other wide receivers are still on the board. Julio Jones, I believe, is still available. I would be very, very happy getting Julio Jones. He doesn't make it to us. That's all right. That just means we're going to be able to get TJ Hawkinson. So getting TJ Hawkinson in the 5th round of a 12-team league, I'm very happy about that. And this is exactly what I always preach with the tight ends. Yeah, you can go Travis Kelce in the 1st round, and then your starting running back can be Miles Sanders. Or you can load up on the most important position and be a little bit, more patient at tight end. Get TJ Hawkinson, who has amazing breakout potential this season in the 5th round, so like 3.5 rounds later. And I think you end up with a much more balanced roster. So I like the way this is shaping up for us. Yes, we're going to have to make some magic happen at the wide receiver 2 slot. It happens. But wide receiver, again, it's a pretty deep position. So Deontay Johnson is still available. I doubt he gets back to us. If Hawkinson wasn't there, it would have been between Julio Jones and Deontay Johnson for me. I think 2 very, very good options. In fact, I think Deontay Johnson is undervalued here on Yahoo. But right now, man, there is a tremendous, tremendous value at the running back position. Mike Davis, Henderson, Myles Gaskin, all guys that I really, really like. So that's worth pointing out again. So if we don't get a Deontay Johnson here, which I am 99.9% certain we won't, other wide receivers that we can go with, I think, considering this is got a PPR aspect to it, I'm looking at maybe a Jerry Jeudy. There goes Deontay Johnson, by the way. I'm looking at maybe an Antonio Brown and Brendan Cooks. So those are the guys. Chase Claypool also right now the top overall wide receiver left. I would also consider him, even though I do think Deontay Johnson is the guy to own on the Pittsburgh wide receiver core with him, with Claypool, and with Juju Smith-Schuster. There goes Myles Gaskin. Let's pull up the draft board here. So after our selection of TJ Hawkinson, you see Justin Herbert, T. Higgins, Mike Davis, Deontay Johnson, Kareem Hunt, and Myles Gaskin. So some of that value on running backs being cleaned up here. In the earlier portion of the 5th round, you saw DeAndre Swift, Damian Harris. And man, how quickly things change for a guy like a DeAndre Swift. I feel like when the mock draft season started back in like March, April, if you guys have been keeping up with it that early on, DeAndre Swift was a guy that was being drafted in the middle of the 2nd round. Now with the groin, with Anthony Lynn talking his, Jamal Williams hype, nobody knows what's happening, and DeAndre Swift is kind of plummeting down draft boards. Definitely presents good value, and if you can tell me I can get DeAndre Swift in the 5th round, I would pull the trigger 10 times out of 10 on that, considering that if he plays the entire season and, the coaches don't get cute, the guy has in, PPR, I would say in full PPR scoring, he's got a top 12 upside. So in half-point PPR, probably right around that, right outside of it. So right now we're back on the board, and here there's a couple guys that I mentioned. Chase Claypool is off the board. Tyler Boyd's still available. I'm just going to go Antonio Brown. I know it's tough having him as our wide receiver too, but if you're drafting Godwin or Evans as your wide receiver too, and you can get Antonio Brown like 3 rounds later, 4 rounds later, I think he has pretty much the exact same upside to be a wide receiver too as those other individuals. In fact, like right now, notice we took him in the 6th round, and a couple of weeks ago the guy was going like the 8th, 9th round. So I do think people are coming around to him being a bit of a better pick than originally believed. So I'm okay taking him where I did. Other wide receivers that we could now consider here, I guess again, Tyler Boyd, Kenny Golladay, Deebo Samuel. I'd rather wait on the wide receiver position. I think right now there's some good value at probably running back still on the board, maybe somebody like a Ronald Jones to point out. But I like the way this is kind of shaped up. After our Antonio Brown selection, you saw Sermon, Javonte Williams, Logan Thomas, Raheem Mostert, then Robbie Anderson, and now A.J. Dillon to kick off the 7th round. I'm hoping, like I said before, maybe we can get a Ronald Jones. Let's look at all this talent that's still available to us. Melvin Gordon, he's also somebody that I think is kind of in that Ronald Jones range, even though I think Javonte Williams has more pressure on him than anybody that's in the Tampa Bay backfield might have pressure on Ronald Jones. Quarterbacks, we could go with like an Aaron Rodgers, a Jalen Hurts, but I'm okay waiting. Again, I'm not too worried about the quarterback position at all. Jamal Williams here is honestly kind of tempting. I think he has really nice upside since the whole DeAndre Swift situation is still up in the air. Chase Edmonds was just drafted, and I'm probably going to go first Ronald Jones, and then we're going to go with a Jamal Williams afterwards. But so far, I like the way this thing is shaping up. We can go at a quarterback in the next round, and, again, probably depending on the situation. Let's see how many quarterbacks are already rostered here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. This individual doesn't have one. I don't have one. Here, another. So really only 3 teams that don't have a quarterback other than, including us. I'm not sure why this individual drafted Justin Herbert and Matthew Stafford. I find that a little bit puzzling. I was hoping Matthew Stafford might make it back to us in the 8th round, but that's okay. There's still some really, really good choices on the board. And honestly, we only have to look out for one other individual potentially sniping us at quarterback. And right now, pulling up the board, again, let's filter it out by quarterbacks. We've still got Jalen Hurts, Ryan Tannehill, Joe Burrow, all guys that I am perfectly fine with at this point in time. I'm okay, rolling the dice on the upside of a Jalen Hurts and then potentially backing him up with somebody safer, somebody like a Ryan Tannehill, somebody like a Matt Ryan, Ryan Fitzpatrick, hell. So a lot of options there, not all that worried. And let's get back into the drafting process. We've seen a run on wide receivers here. Kenny Golladay, Deebo Samuel, Jamar Chase, and Cortland Sutton. So right now, I think that we're in a good position to, again, draft our needed quarterback, to maybe consider somebody like Jamal Williams. So I'd be very, very happy with that. We could also add more wide receiver depth, but right now, looking at our wide receiver options, let's again look at it by that category. Brandon Cooks is still available. I'm looking at Marvin Jones, Darnell Mooney, Marquez Callaway, a sneaky sleeper there if Michael Thomas misses an extended period of time, even though I've already got Alvin Kamara, but it's all right. I think at some point in time, not quite yet, Marquez Callaway will become somebody that we can target. Now, Brandon Cooks was selected. There goes Zach Moss as well. So it's becoming, I think in our favor that we'll be able to land a quarterback here, unless somebody else gets a backup quarterback at this point in time. So I'll probably go Jalen Hurts. I'm looking for upside, and I don't want to get, sniped at that position and have to settle for, somebody else that I might not be happy with. So I'm probably just going to keep it simple here. I'm probably just going to get Jalen Hurts and call it a day at the quarterback position. But let's see. Hopefully this picks up a little bit and, we can get to our pick a little bit quicker. But yeah, like I said, Jalen Hurts. Let's kind of break down our roster so far, though. Our running backs, Alvin Kamara, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Chris Carson, and Ronald Jones. I really, really like that combination of players. It's one that I feel very confident in. We also have depth there. So if somebody gets injured, right now our starting flex is another running back. So I feel good about that. I think we did a really good job at that position. I feel very fortunate to have gotten TJ Hawkinson in the 5th round where we did. So again, a pick that I really like. We were able to get Cooper Kupp in the, 4th round. Sure, it's not a stud wide receiver, but it's one that I think is relatively reliable. Jamal Williams goes here in the 8th round, so I'm just going to get Jalen Hurts. Let's get our quarterback. We've got a quarterback with nice upside. I'm not worried about Gardner Minshew over there, so I like the way this is shaping up. And Jamal Williams was drafted right before Jalen Hurts, so we won't have the ability to get him in the 9th round, but that's all right. I think we are still in a good spot. We can add one more bench player here and potentially kind of wrap it up because I anticipate we're going to start seeing some auto picks. We're going to start seeing some defenses. And as soon as I say that, well, you see the Rams defense being drafted in the 8th round. So yeah, pretty on target right there. Now afterwards, Michael Gallup, Devonta Smith. Looking at these other wide receivers, I do want to sort it out that way. I think there's still some good value here. Marvin Jones is somebody that I would be considering. It says here that he's going to be playing in week 1, so I like that update. Other guys, T.Y. Hilton missing time. I think Michael Pittman could be a decent sleeper. And in fact, he might be the pick here ahead of Marvin Jones because of, I think, simply the volume that he might see out of the gate compared to Marvin Jones, especially with Carson Wentz kind of also trending in the right direction. So I think that'll probably be the way that we go here. Let's see if there's been any updates on Carson Wentz. I'm kind of interested, but, he's on the COVID list. I guess that's nothing related to his injury. But it says, look, barring setback, Wentz will start in week 1, which is honestly ideal. So Michael Pittman, potentially, here we come with this selection. I can get on board with that. Let's sort our wide receivers, and then we are going to go with Michael Pittman here. He's a guy that flashed during his rookie season, and I think as a depth piece here, I would welcome a bunch. So there we go. We add Michael Pittman, and we'll kind of wrap it up here. I think so far, this probably gets a B+ type of grade. I think we did a really good job at the running back position, the most important position. I think we got our difference maker at tight end. At wide receiver, I like getting Cooper Kupp. And then we got guys that, we think are good value, just undervalued, sleeper potential. And then we got a high upside quarterback in Jalen Hurts. That's all you could want. I don't think we had to reach on anybody. I think we got lucky with a couple picks. That's usually the combination you want. But hey, let me hear it in the comment section whether you agree, disagree. Along with any questions you guys might have. I'll do my best to answer them all. And if you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.